The first rays of the sunlight crept into Akelo's small clay hut. She stretched and yawned, her heart heavy but her spirit determined. Today is like every day. She would start with kindness, even if the world wasn't kind back. Akelo, 27 years old, had a skin as pale as the moon. Her albino skin made her stand out in the village of Namaro, where everyone else had rich dark complexions. Many villagers whispered behind her back, calling her a curse. Others laughed outright, pointing fingers whenever she walked by. But Akelo never let sadness show. She carried her late mother's words in her heart. Kindness will always shine brighter than cruel. She tied a red cloth around her waist, grabbed a basket and stepped outside. The morning air was cool and the sound of roosters crowed filled the village. Her first stop was always at the water well, where women gathered to fetch water. "Good morning, everyone," Akelo greeted with a bright smile as she approached the well. The women glanced at her, then turned away, whispering and giggling. "What's so good about the morning when a curse is near?" One of them murmured, loud enough for Akelo to hear. Akelo's smile fluttered for a moment, but she quickly recovered. She filled her pot with water and began her walk back home. Along the way, she saw a little boy crying by the roadside. His wooden toy had broken. "What's wrong, Otim?" she asked, kneeling beside him. "They broke it," she sniffed, pointing at the group of boys in the distance. Akelo pulled out a piece of string from her basket and tied the broken parts of the toy together. "There, good as new," she said, handing it back to him. Otimu's face lifted up. "Thank you, Aunt Akelo," he said, running off to play. As she walked home, her heart felt lighter. Even if the villagers didn't appreciate her, she believed that one day someone would see her for who she truly was. Little did she know that the day was close than she thought. A stranger was on his way to Namaro, and he would change her life forever. Namaro was a lively village, the children playing by the streams, women weaving baskets and men tilling their fields. But beneath the cheerful surface lay a web of gossip, and Akelo was often the center of it. "Did you see her this morning?" one woman whispered to another as they walked back from the well. "She's always smiling as if she doesn't know she's cursed." Another woman chuckled. "She thinks kindness will make people forget her skin. Who would ever marry someone like her?" Akelo had heard these whispers all her life. At first, they had stung like a sharp thorn, but over the years, she had learned to ignore them, or at least pretend to. As she walked through the marketplace that afternoon to sell her handmade baskets, the laughters and stares followed her like shadows. "Akelo, do you ever sell those baskets? Or do people avoid them too?" One man sneered. Akelo looked at him calmly. "Kindness is free, Ouma. You should try it." The crowd erupted in laughter, but this time it wasn't at her. It was at Ouma. He scowled and walked away, leaving Akelo to breathe a small sigh of relief. She set up her small stall under a mango tree, arranging her baskets neatly. A few women approached not to buy but to mock. "Maybe if you made the basket prettier like yourself, someone might actually want them," one woman said with a smirk. Akelo clenched her fist but said nothing. She refused to let their words ruin her day. As the sun began to set, Akelo packed up her unsold baskets and began the long walk home. She passed by the river where children splashed and played. Seeing their laughter brought a small smile on her face. But as she reached the edge of the village, she saw something unusual, a man she had never seen before. He was tall, with broad shoulders and confident strength. His clothes, though dusty from travel, were clean and well kept. He stopped to ask a group of villagers for directions. And Okello noticed how women jingled and adjusted their scarves. They clearly found him handsome. Okello stood quietly, watching from a distance. She assumed he would be like everyone else, kind to others but quick to judge her. But as the man turned to leave, his gaze landed on her. For a moment, their eyes met, and he gave her a small, genuine smile. Okello blinked in surprise. No one had ever smiled at her like that before. She quickly looked away and hurried home, her heart racing. That night, as she sat by a dim glow of her lantern, she couldn't stop thinking about the stranger. Little did she know that single smile was about to change everything. The following day, Okello woke up earlier than usual. Sleep had been restless, her thoughts consumed by the stranger's smile. She tried to push the memory away. It's probably nothing. He smiled out of politeness, she told herself. Still, there was a tiny spark of hope she couldn't extinguish. She carried her basket and headed to a river bank to gather reeds for her weaving. It was her quiet escape, where no one could mock her or whisper behind her back. The sound of the bird offered a rare moment of peace. As she walked, memories of her childhood surfaced. She remembered running through the fields with other children, laughing and playing without a care in the world. Back then, her skin hadn't mattered. But as she grew older, the whispers began. Okello, why is your skin so pale? Did your parents hang the gods? She brings bad luck. Don't stand near her. One by one, friends drifted away, leaving Okello alone. Her father had died when she was young, and her mother died a few years ago. The only family she had left was her grandmother, who constantly reminded her that her worth wasn't determined by others. A sudden rustling in the bushes startled her. Okello turned, clenching her basket tightly. A man emerged from trees, carrying a leather bag slung over his shoulders. Her breath caught. It was him. "Good morning," the stranger said with a warm smile. His voice was deep but gentle. Okello froze, unsure of what to say. No man had ever greeted her with such kindness before. "I didn't mean to scare you," he added, quickly noticing her hesitation. "I'm Laban. I arrived in the village yesterday." Okello found her voice at last. "Good morning. I'm Okello." Laban nodded. "Nice to meet you, Okello. You're up early." "I like the quiet," she replied softly. He looked at the reeds in her basket. "You gathering those to make something, aren't you?" Okello nodded. "Baskets, I saw them in the market." Laban's eyes lit up. "That's impressive. I've never been good with my hands. May I see one someday?" Okello blinked in surprise. "You want to see my baskets?" "Of course," Laban said with grin. "I'm curious." For the first time in years, Okello felt a gleam of excitement in her heart. She nodded shyly. Maybe tomorrow." As Laban walked away, Okello watched him until he disappeared in the trees. For the first time, someone had shown genuine interest in her, not out of pity, but out of curiosity. She smiled to herself, but a doubt crept in. What if he's just like others? What if this is a cruel joke? Her thought strengthened as she finished gathering her reins and headed home. Deep down, she knew that her life was about to change, but whether for better or worse, she couldn't yet tell. The next day, Akelo woke up with a flutter in her chest. She had been nervous all night, wondering if Laban would actually come to see her basket, or if he was just being polite. She quickly brushed her hair, put on her best smile, and gathered the basket she had worked on the day before. The market was busy as usual, with women selling fruits, vegetables, and handmade goods. Akelo set up her small stall under the same mango tree where she always did, arranging her baskets carefully. She glanced around, hoping to spot Laban, but there was no sign of him. As the hours passed, her hope began to fade. Maybe he forgot, she thought, feeling a small pang of disappointment. Just as she was about to pack up and go home, she heard a familiar voice. "Hello, Akelo." She looked up and saw Laban standing at her stall, smiling warmly. His eyes sparkled with interest. "I didn't forget," he said. "I've been meaning to come by earlier, but I had some things to take care of. Your basket looks beautiful." Akelo's heart skipped a beat. She didn't expect him to come, let alone compliment her work. "Thank you, Laban. I make them with care," she replied, feeling both shy and proud. Laban picked up one of the baskets, inspecting it closely. "You are very talented," he said. "I could never make something like this. Do you mind if I buy one?" Akelo's eyes widened in surprise. "You want to buy one?" "Of course. I think I'll take this one," Laban said, pointing to a small woven basket. Akelo smiled and wrapped the basket carefully. "Thank you. I'm glad you liked it." As he handed her some coins, Laban asked, "How about we have a cup of tea together? I know a quiet place by the river." Akelo hesitated for a moment. Should I? What if he's just being kind? But then she remembered how genuine Laban's smile had been and how he had treated her like a normal person, not as someone to avoid or laugh at. "Yes, I would like that," she said softly. Laban led her to a peaceful spot by the river, where the sound of water flowing gently over the rocks. The setting sun painted the sky in the shades of orange and pink. They sat down on a large rock by the water and Laban began to prepare tea. "So, Akelo," he began, handing her a warm cup. "Tell me more about yourself. I don't know much about you, except that you make beautiful baskets." Akelo felt a slight nervousness, but she quickly realized that Laban was listening intently, his eyes kind and patient. "I don't have much to tell. I've lived in this village all my life," Akelo said, looking down at her cup. "People here don't like me because of my skin. They think I bring bad luck." Laban was quiet for a moment, as if processing her words. Then he said, "I don't believe in luck, Akelo. I believe in people, and I think you are a kind, strong person." Akelo blinked in surprise. "You do?" "Of course," Laban said, smiling warmly. "I see a lot of people in this world, and few have the kind of strength you do. You don't let the cruel of others change who you are. That's rare, Akelo." Akelo felt a wave of emotion rush through her. No one had ever said anything like that to her before. For a moment, she could barely speak. "Thank you, Laban," she whispered. They sat in a comfortable silence, drinking their tea and watching the sunset behind the trees. For the first time in years, Akelo felt like she truly belonged. She wasn't alone anymore. She had met a new friend, someone who saw her for who she truly was, not the color of her skin or the rumors surrounding her. As the evening grew darker, Laban stood up and smiled at Akelo. "I should get going. I have a long journey ahead tomorrow, but I hope we can meet again, Akelo." "I would like that," she said, feeling a warmth in her chest. As she walked home that evening, Akelo couldn't stop thinking about Laban's words. Maybe, just maybe, there was hope for her yet. The next few days passed quickly, and Akelo found herself eagerly awaiting her next meeting with Laban. They had met by the river twice already, and each time he had treated her with kindness and respect, something she had rarely received from the villagers. But as days went on, she couldn't help but notice changes in the way people looked at her. The whispers were getting louder again. "Did you see Akelo talking to that man?" one woman said, her voice low but not quite enough for Akelo to ignore. "What does she think she's doing? Bringing a stranger into our village?" Another woman scoffed. "He's probably just feeling sorry for her. No man would ever choose her over a woman like Maria or Amina." Akelo's heart sank, and she tried to shake off the stench of their words. She had always known the villagers thought little of her, but now, with Laban's attention on her, their mockery seemed more intense. Despite the whispers, she continued to meet Laban by the river. Each time, he would ask her about her life, and they would talk about their dreams, their hopes and future. He made her feel like she mattered, like her thoughts and feelings were important. One afternoon, as Akelo sat weaving basket by the river, Laban arrived with a small gift wrapped in a cloth. "I got you something," he said, handing her the bundle. Akelo looked at the gift with a surprise. "For me?" Laban nodded, smiling. "You've shown me kindness, Akelo. I want to return it." She carefully unwrapped the cloth to find a delicate silver bracelet. It shimmered in the sunlight, beautiful and simple. Akelo gasped. "It's beautiful, Laban." "Thank you." Laban smiled warmly. "It's a token of my appreciation. You are a rare person, Akelo. I want you to know that." Akelo carefully fastened the bracelet around her waist, her heart swelling with emotion she hadn't felt in years. For the first time, someone had seen her for who she was, not for her skin, not for the whispers, but who the person she is inside. As she looked at Laban, she realized she was falling for him, but a wave of fear rushed over her. What if the villagers were right? What if this was just a game to him? That evening, Akelo walked home. She couldn't shake the feeling of doubt. What if this was all too good to be true? As she passed the market the next morning, her thoughts were interrupted by a familiar voice. "Akelo!" She turned to see Mariam, one of the village women, walking towards her with a smug look on her face. "I saw you with Laban by the river again yesterday," Maria said, crossing her arms. "What is it that he sees in you? Do you think he really interested in you?" Akelo's heart raced. She could hear the mockery in Mariam's voice. "He's just a kind man, Mariam. There is no need for you to judge." Mariam laughed bitterly. A kind man, you really think he's going to choose you over someone like me? Akelo's hand clenched into fist, but she took a deep breath. I don't care what you think, Mariam. What's between Laban and me is our business. Mariam raised an eyebrow. Is that so? Well, we'll see how long it will last. Men like Laban don't stay with women like you. Her words were sharp, but Akelo held her ground. We'll see. Mariam sneered and walked away, but her words lingered in Akelo's mind. What if she's right? What if Laban does leave me just like the others? As the days passed, Akelo couldn't ignore the weight of the villagers' words. But she also couldn't shake the warmth she felt whenever she was with Laban. Despite the fear and doubt inside her, she knew one thing for a certain. She wasn't going to let the whispers of the village stop her from experiencing something real and meaningful. But little did she know the villagers' gossip was just the beginning of a much bigger challenge. This is the end of our part 1. Will Akelo bear all the mocking, all the harsh words the village is telling her or she's facing, and will Laban stay by her side forever? We're going to continue with that in our part 2. Kindly subscribe if you've not yet subscribed, and give it a thumb up. Bye bye, see you in my next video. I love you all.